Fox Sports.
We are Fox Sports. We are LA.
It's time for Dodger Baseball. Live from Dodger Stadium, Prime Ticket presents the Dodgers as they take on the Atlanta Braves. Hi, everybody, and a very pleasant Saturday night to you, wherever you may be. Dodgers and Braves in their sixth meeting of the year. Braves won 3 in Georgia. Dodgers have won 2 straight here at home. Tonight, Stephen Fife coming up with his first Major League victory against San Diego. He will go to the mound for the Dodgers. And for Atlanta, a local boy from Artesia, that would be Chris Medlin. Medlin is 2-6, beat the Dodgers, pitched very well in Georgia, has a most interesting note. Medlin, during a stretch from 2010 into 2012, started 23 games for the Braves, and they won them all. That broke the Major League record formerly held by Whitey Ford, 22 games with the Yankees, and Carl Hubble, 22 games with the Giants. Anytime you break a Major League record of 2 Hall of Famers, that commands your attention. And so does this ball game, as the Braves have been held to 1 run in the last 20 innings. We'll get to the ball game and a whole lot more coming up right after this. Southern California Hyundai dealers. Come in and test drive the sleek, stylish Sonata today. by AT&T Uverse TV. Check availability at 1-800-PIC-ATT. And by Jack in the Box. The Chipotle Chicken Club Combo is back for a limited time.
Another wonderful night at Chavez Ravine, and it started off with some of the goes from the past mixing with players from the present and the recent past. Sandy Koufax and Fernando Valenzuela, part of the old-timers game between the Yankees and the Dodgers, and of course it ended in a 1-1 tie. Jim Watson and Steve Lyons in center field. You know, if the Dodgers win tonight and things work out with the Padres losing, the Dodgers could move up in the National League West standings.
Flip-flop some teams. It's tough to beat. When you're so far behind everybody, it's tough to flip-flop everybody, but then it starts right now, and you take the team in front of you, and then you move on from there.
The guy who's been carrying the Dodgers all week long, the kid from Cuba, Yasiel Puig, he had another home run last night, so now he has 4 home runs in 5 games, 10 RBIs, both of those tie Major League records that date back 100 years.
Yeah, it's a pretty good start, wouldn't you think? And it's a tremendous talent that we're watching, so if you don't able to get out to these ball games, make sure you're seeing him on TV, because he's become the new Tinkle guy, the guy that you do not go to the bathroom when he's going to come up to the plate. You got to make sure you see every one of his at-bats.
Stephen Fife gets the start today, much like he did on Monday in replacement of the injured Chris Capuano, but he was great against the Pods, and he earns himself a second look.
Yeah, he was gutty against San Diego. That was a 2-1 ball game, and he pitched well. Remember, he pitched in Baltimore. He got hurt, went on the DL, made one rehab start down in the minor leagues, and then was right back up here pitching, so good for him.
Dodgers have beaten the Braves the first 2. Dodgers have won 4 out of 5. The Dodgers have won 11 out of 14 at home, and the Dodgers are starting to heat up.
Tonight, welcome to Game 3 of the 4-game series between the Dodgers and the Braves. A beautiful evening and the prospects of a dandy just about ready to get started. Freddie Gonzalez Ball Club very hungry right now. They had won 5 straight, 15 out of 19, and suddenly they've hit the brakes. They've lost 2 in a row. They scored just 1 run in their last 20 innings. Here's the Braves batting order, and Andrelton Simmons at shortstop, Jason Hayward in right field, Justin Upton in left, Freddie Freeman at first base, Brian McCann behind the plate, Chris Johnson at third, Dan Ugla batting 7th at second base, B.J. Upton in center, and the pitcher, the pride of Artesia, Chris Medlin. On the mound for the Dodgers, Stephen Fife out of Boise, Idaho, originally drafted by the Red Sox in 2008. He was a quarterback and baseball player in high school. makes his first pitch inside to Simmons. Steven is 6'3", 215 pounds. He'll be 27 in October. And the right-hander's 1-0 pitch is swung on, whacked to center. Ethier goes back, reaches up, can't make the play. It's off the wall, and into second base goes Simmons with a double. So Andre Ethier comes up empty, trying to go back and handle a long fly ball by Andrelton Simmons. Ethier got a good jump, looked like he might get it, but he came less than a foot from getting the leather on the ball. So Simmons opens up with a double to center, and now you have Hayward, Upton, and Freeman trying to pick him up. Beautiful evening, 70 degrees right on the button as the ball game starts. Hayward, who had an appendectomy the middle of May, slowly coming back from it. Left-hand batter shows bunt and takes high, ball one. Hayward has 3 home runs, 10 runs batted in. A solid ball player. He's already proven himself in the big leagues. Big, lanky left-hand batter. The 1-0 pitch, he shows bunt, takes a strike, and the count 1-1. So Jason Hayward trying to help get his club on the board. Hayward waiting, and the 1-1 pitch from Stephen Fife. Check swing. It's a little high. They look at third. No swing, says Dale Scott. And the count 2 balls and 1 strike. Jason is from McDonough, Georgia, although he was born in New Jersey. Then the family moved to Georgia. He's 6'4", about 235. Will be 24. He shows bunt again, and the pitch is at his feet. So the count now goes 3-1. On deck, Justin Upton. Braves have won 3 of the 5. They won all 3 in Georgia. They apparently, like so many other teams, they excel at home, and as good as they are, they have struggled on the road. They're actually under 500. Here's the 3-1 pitch coming up. Hayward shows bunt, takes high. He's aboard with ball 4. Though a shaky beginning for Stephen Fife. He gives up the double to Simmons, and he walks Hayward. Let's take a look at the Dodgers with the leather behind him. And they spread out this way. Gonzalez and Schumacher, Punto and Cruz, Van Slyke, Ethier, and Puig in the outfield. Fedorovich behind the plate. Hanley Ramirez has been bothered by the hamstring. In fact, before the ball game, Don Mattingly said that Hanley was a lot better today, wanted to go, and he'll probably go tomorrow, but they're being very cautious with him. So 2 on, nobody out, and Justin Upton at the plate. And the right-hand batter bunts down to get it. Fife barehands it, fires to first for the out, and the runners move up. So Justin Upton with 14 home runs, 29 runs batted in, hitting third in the lineup, sacrifices in the first inning. That'll tell you why the Braves are so hungry with just 1 run in 20 innings to do that so early. A little frustrating for Justin, but he did his job. And now the one fellow in the lineup who is hitting is Freddie Freeman. Freddie Freeman last night had 2 singles and a double. He also had a base hit in the first game of the series. So with 4 hits, he's up there with first base open. Takes a breaking ball inside, ball 1. 1-0 to Freddie. He's from Orange, California. One of 5 members of the Braves who hail from Southern California. Freddie's 23. He won't be 24 till September, and he takes low ball 2. Braves, of course, an extremely successful franchise when they won 14 National League championships. Now that Freddie Gonzalez has a team where 11 of his players are under 25. So they're building once again. 2-0 pitch to Freeman, swung on and foul back, and the count to Freddie 2-1. Freeman, another big guy, and especially it comes in handy at first base. He's 6'5" and 220. Last year he had 23 home runs, 94 runs batted in. Right now he has a half a dozen home runs. 5 out of his stretch. Stephen ready and deal, swung on and fouled off, and they count 2-2. Last year Freeman struck out 129 times. He's on a ball club that strikes out a lot. 552 times already the Braves have struck out. Freeman 2-2 the count. Out of a stretch goes Stephen. 5 checks the runners, delivers, breaking ball, got him looking. Oh, what a big pitch that was. A late break. If you were the hitter, it looked like it was going to be a fastball up out of the zone, and at the last minute it dipped in, and there was Freeman, hung out to dry. So 2 down in the first inning. Big curveball, and the batter now will be Brian McCann. McCann, the all-star catcher 6 times, left-hand batter. He has 7 home runs, 17 runs batted in. Fife ready, comes to his hitter, and it's swung on and fouled at the plate, and the count 0-1. Brian McCann hitting .265. Got into the game last night as a pinch hitter and flied to left. In the first game of the series he started and went 1 for 4. 0-1 the count. Now the strike 1 pitch on the way to Brian. 5 very deliberate, comes back, breaking ball, swung on and missed. By the time it got up to home plate, it was out of the strike zone, but it was too late for him to correct. So Brian's out of Athens, Georgia, the home of the university. So a Georgia boy all the way. 6'3", 220, second-round pick out of Duluth High School. The strike 2 pitch on the way to Brian McCann. 5 delivers, strike 3 call. What a high wire act to do in the first inning. Second and third, 1 out, and all he does is strike out Freeman and McCann. And at the end of half an inning, no score. With runners in scoring position in the series. One reason why they now have 1 run in the last 21 innings. Here's the Dodger lineup. Yasiel Puig in right, Nick Punto the shortstop, Adrian Gonzalez at first base, Andre Ethier in center, Scott Van Slyke in left, Skip Schumacher at second base, Tim Fedorovich behind the plate, Luis Cruz at third base, and Stephen Fife coming up. Out on the mound, trying to stop the Dodgers will be Chris Medlin, and for the Dodgers, it'll be Yasiel Puig. One of the notes about him, and if you scurry and dig, there's so many things written about him, but he's had 19 at-bats, and he has swung at the first pitch 10 times. So I'm sure the Braves are well aware of the fact the youngster does not hang around. After scribbling something in the dirt, he does that every night. A lot of times he will run up in the box as if he's about to bunt, but he holds the bat right at his chest, so it's no sign that he's actually even thinking about bunting. Meanwhile, Chris Medlin on the mound, and Medlin has put up some rather amazing numbers. His earned run average against the Dodgers is 1.5. Last year, his earned run average 1.5, and he was 10-1. Chris deals. There goes a fake bunt. He actually lowered the bat, and the count 1 ball and no strike. Puig hitting .421. Been quite an exciting week for him, for the Dodgers, and for that matter, the city in Southern California. Again a bunt, only it goes right back to Medlin, who throws him out. So Puig, after all the times he faked a bunt, tries his luck, and Medlin takes care of him. Let's take a look at the Braves. They shake up defensively with Freeman and Ugla, Simmons and Johnson, Upton both in left and center, Haywood in right, McCann behind the plate, and the boy from Artesia, Chris Medlin. Went to Santa Ana Junior College, originally drafted by the Devil Rays, but opted to go to junior college and then transferred to Santa Ana. And the first pitch in for a strike to Nick Punto, 0-1. Punto has 1 home run, 10 RBIs, hitting .287. Medlin works from the first base side of the rubber, and the strike 1 pitch is high and away, 1-1. For Chris, he paid the price. He underwent Tommy John surgery back in 2010. Fastball, curveball, slider, and change. The 1-1 pitch on the way is fouled off. I can't think of higher praise than what they say about Medlin. His craftsmanship out there is such that they compare him to the great Greg Maddux. Boy, anytime your name is linked with Maddux as a pitcher, you are really special. So waiting on deck, Adrian Gonzalez, 1 out, first inning. No score. The 1-2 pitch on the way is low and away. The Dodgers, by beating the Braves 2 straight, are trying to win their 3rd game in a row. They have tried to win 3 in a row 8 times this year. They are 1-7, trying to get number 3. Here's the 2-2 pitch on the way to Punto. Swung on. It's hit back to the box. Backhanded by Medlin to make the play. The ball was not hit hard enough to get through, so Medlin was able to correct and still go back and get it.
Adrian Gonzalez.
So 2 assists by Medlin. And again, in watching Medlin, I can understand why people compare him to Greg Maddux. Maddux was as good a fielding pitcher as ever played the game. Chris Medlin is 5'10", 175. He'll be 28 in October. In junior college, he pitched and he also played shortstop, so he's good with that glove. Meanwhile, Gonzalez lines one down the right field line, foul in the corner. So 0-1 the count to Adrian Gonzalez. Do you remember Wade Boggs? And remember they used to talk about Boggs, how he ate chicken before almost every game and he was a great hitter, etc. Well, we understand Medlin has a tradition of eating a peanut butter and honey sandwich before each of his starts. The strike 1 pitch on the way, and that swung on and missed, and the count 0-2. Adrian with 8 home runs, 43 runs batted in. Medlin 24 walks, 54 strikeouts. Right-hander ready, and the strike 2 pitch. Adrian swings and hits it to right. Going over to his left, waiting for it is Hayward to put it away. So 2 comebackers and a fly ball to deep right, and at the end of an inning, no score. broadcasting to the U.S. Armed Forces, serving in 175 countries and aboard ships at sea. They're watching around the world in Iraq, Germany, Italy, Southwest Asia, South Korea, and Japan. Welcome. Hope you enjoy the ball game, and it is our privilege to send it to you. First pitch is lifted off first base. Gonzalez coming over to the seats, has a look, but that's all. Back in about 5 rows. Chris Johnson, he'll be followed by Dan Ugla and then B.J. Upton. We mentioned earlier that the Braves struggling 1 for 12 so far with runners in scoring position. What a nightmare game there was today, especially for the New York Mets. The Mets played Miami. It went 20 innings. The strike one pitch is rolled to short. Punto is up with it, takes care of it, and we have one down. It not only went 20 innings, Miami won the game 2-1, but how about this? The New York Mets, with runners in scoring position, went 0 for 19. They ought to put that up on the board to solace both Freddie Gonzalez and Don Mattingly. Well, here's Dan Ugla. Ugla has really been struggling, but he did get the base hit in the 4th inning last night to drive in a run. He fouls the pitch back. At the time, that was a big run. The Braves led 1-0, but the Dodgers eventually caught him. And of course, the 2 wild pitches in the 10th inning gave the Dodgers the 2-1 win. 0-1 to Dan Ugla. On deck, B.J. Upton. Fife ready. Right-hander's breaking ball is swung on and missed. Boy, does he pitch downhill with that curveball. Stephen Fife's father, football player at the University of Hawaii. Strike 2 pitch in the dirt. Nice block by Fedorovich. Tim back in the lineup. Ramon Hernandez made his contributions last night with 2 hits, and then Fernandez pinch runner Schumacher came home on the wild pitch. 1-2 the count to Dan Ugla, and the Owl swings and misses, and down he goes. Strikeout number 3. Nothing fancy. That was just a fastball to take care of him. Say, a reminder, tomorrow the first 15,000 ticketed kids 14 and under in attendance take home their own compression sleeve, compliments of Wetzel's Pretzels. For tickets, visit Dodgers.com/promotions. 2 out, 2nd inning. Here's B.J. Upton. Slender right-hand hitting center fielder fouls the pitch back, and the count 0-1. B.J. about 4 years older than his younger brother Justin. He's been struggling, batting just 177 against left-handers, 143 against right-handers. So that's just a $1.50 batting average. Takes inside, and they count 1 ball and 1 strike. Of course, ball players cannot take anything for granted. What they did the year before doesn't mean a thing. The next pitch to him is high, ball 2, 2-1. Last year with the Rays, B.J. had 28 home runs, 78 runs batted in. The B.J., as we have said, stands for Boss Man Jr. His father Manny's nickname was Boss Man. The next pitch is in there for a strike. If he actually used his true initials, he would be M.E. Upton. But that doesn't ring a bell. B.J. sounds better. His father was a football and baseball star at Norfolk State. 2-2 pitch on the way is swung on and missed. And down goes Upton. 4 strikeouts in 2 innings. That means the Braves have now struck out 556 times. And we're scoreless. Look at the National League division leaders. Atlanta, followed by the Cardinals in Arizona. And for Atlanta, they have the biggest lead in the major league. Because when you look at all over, the Red Sox lead by 2, Detroit 3.5, Oakland by 0.5, the Cardinals by 4, Arizona by 2.5, and Atlanta leading technically for the moment by 7. Bottom of the second inning, we've had one hit. That was the double leadoff by Andrelton Simmons. Since then, Stephen Five has struck out 4. Five has made 27 pitches in his 2 innings. Chris Medlin retired the Dodgers in order in the first inning on 10 pitches, and he's ready to go to work. So Andre Ethier checks in. Medlin delivers, and it looked like a straight change, and Ethier was way out in front of it. 0-1 the count. Take a look at Medlin against the Dodgers. He's allowed 1 home run. That was to Hanley Ramirez, who's not playing. The strike 1 pitch hit off the end of the bat wide of third. Johnson is on it to take care of Ethier. And just like that, 1 away. Ethier, before we had a chance to tell you,
number 33,
against Chris Medlin, was hitting .444, 4 for 9. The next batter for the Dodgers, Van Slyke, and he has never faced Medlin. And after Van Slyke, Schumacher, who is 2 for 6. So Scott Van Slyke, 6 home runs, 11 runs batted in, 5 doubles, takes a breaking ball way off the plate, and a 1-ball, no strike count. Scotty batting .246. Medlin, 2-6, has lost 3 times at home and has allowed 7 home runs on the road. Van Slyke takes off the plate. So that means 7 of his 8 home runs were hit away from Georgia. Chris nods yes. 2-0 pitch on the way. Van Slyke sees it bounce in front of the plate, and the count runs 3-0. Medlin, to show you how effective he is as Schumacher waits on deck. Since the All-Star game last year, his earned run average is 1.8. He gets a strike into Van Slyke, and the count 3-1. He's an amazing young pitcher. Chris Medlin. Now the 3-1 pitch, that's a strike. He's better than 2-1, strikeouts to walks. He goes all the way, 3-2, and heaves a big sigh. 3-2 pitch to Van Slyke, swung on, hit in the air, foul off first base, back into the crowd. Scott, hitting .246, has done a good job, not only hitting home runs and 5 doubles, but he's done well in left field. Medlin ready to come back 3-2. The fastball is strike 3 called. So Van Slyke is caught looking. 5 in a row, retired by Medlin, his first strikeout.
Number 3, Skip Schumacher.
And the batter will be Skip Schumacher. Skip Schumacher got into the ball game last night, minding his own business. They put him in as a pinch runner for Ramon Hernandez. Then he scored on the wild pitch. He was mobbed and had his uniform ripped off at the shirt level. He takes a strike, and the count 0-1. He had that look on his face as if to say, why me? I haven't done anything. But he did score the winning run. He's also playing very well and hitting .268. Medlin strike 1 pitch, breaking ball, but it stays inside. 1-1 for those watching on television. You can see the Dodgers, especially Hanley Ramirez, doing the job of tearing the shirt off. Big swing and a foul ball by Schumacher. So Skip doing well no matter where they play him. Remember, he also has a 13-game hitting streak. David Freese has an 18er. Matt Carpenter 17, and then you have Skipper at 13. The 1-2 pitch on the way. Medlin delivers, ground ball into left field. Base hit for Skip. Schumacher is now hit safely in 14 in a row. And that'll bring up Tim Fedorovich.
Number 18, Tim Fedorovich.
The ground ball single to left. Schumacher taking what he gets, pitch away, and just went the other way with it. Tim Fedorovich has done a wonderful job catching. He's done a especially effective job blocking and digging pitches out of the dirt. But in his last game, he was just overwhelmed by Tim Hudson and struck out 3 times. Oh, we'll see what he does against Medlin. He takes a strike, and the count 0-1. Fedorovich from Erie, Pennsylvania, lives in Apex, North Carolina. Originally drafted out of the University of North Carolina by the Red Sox. And of course, as we've mentioned over and over, he is better known to his teammates as FedEx. Strike 1 pitch, chopper foul outside of third. 0-2 to count to Tim. Stocky, built like a catcher, 5'11", 205 pounds. And he'll be 26 in August. Schumacher at first with 2 out. Fedorovich in a hole, 0-2. Medlin out of a stretch. And the right-hander strike 2 pitch off the plate. Ball 1. 1-2. Fedorovich has had a lot of trouble making contact. 41 at bats, and he has struck out a third of the time. 14. Now the 1-2 pitch coming up. The right hand hitting catcher swings, lifts it in the air to right field. Hayward indicates he will take care of it, and he's true to his word. So no runs, 1 hit, a man left, and at the end of 2, no score. Tonight, and that's a reminder the Dodgers will honor the '63 National League and World Series MVP Sandy Koufax Thursday, June 27th at 7:10. The first 50,000 fans in attendance receive a Sandy Koufax bobblehead, compliments of Mitchell and Ness. For tickets, visit Dodgers.com/promotions. How famous is Sandy Koufax? How high is the regard for him? Well, before the Old Timers game, if you look down around home plate in the batting cage, Sandy was there surrounded by baseball players. surrounded by members of the Atlanta Braves, getting his autograph. Meanwhile, third inning, no score, and the first pitch a strike to Chris Medlin. Sandy was giving it, signing balls for all the young Braves, something to cherish. Strike one. Pitch is hit to right field deep, but foul all the way, and the count 0-2. Chris Medlin is hitting 100. He has 2 hits and 20 at-bats. Struck out 9 times. Fife comes right back, and it's lifted down the left field line. Again, slicing foul and out of play. So Stephen Fife has 4 strikeouts, and he has his opposite number on the ropes. No balls, 2 strikes. Fife looks down, gets a sign from Fedorovich. Strike 2 pitch, and Medlin grounds it to the hole at short. Backhanded there by Punto, who throws him out. 1 away. So after giving up a leadoff double and a walk, Fife has turned around to retire 7 straight. One of the things the Braves have done, but of course when they came here there was great knowledge that they strike out a lot. They have swung and missed almost as many times as they have put a pitch in play, which is pretty remarkable. Well, here's Simmons. He doubled over the head of Ethier in the first inning. Adrilton takes a strike. The kid from Curacao. Andrelton hitting .257. 5 home runs, 22 runs batted in, and takes low and inside. Simmons with his double. It was his 11th double of the year. Right hand hitter waiting. 1 ball and 1 strike. Fife comes back. Good fastball swung on and missed. It was 86 and down. Of course, that's the old story about pitching. Location, movement, and the last thing you want to talk about is velocity. 1-2 to the right hand hitting Simmons. The breaking ball hit foul off first base down the line, out of play. Tomorrow, the concluding game of the series, and we do know that Mike Minor is going to pitch for Atlanta. Now, Ted Lilly has been announced. There is certainly a shadow of doubt across Ted Lilly's name. The 1-2 pitch on the way, a little roller up along third, tough play, and Cruz unable to make it. Cruz trying to glove the ball. Most of the time you see the third baseman try to barehand it, but Lewis tried to glove it, couldn't make it.
Jason Hayward.
So Jason Hayward will come up with Simmons at first, and that'll be a base hit, too tough to handle. Simmons last night had a bunt single. So a runner at first, 1 away. Jason Hayward walked in the first inning. Simmons has stolen 2 out of 3. And the first pitch to Hayward in for a strike, 0-1. The Braves are not a running team. Oh, sure, Jordan Schaefer, who's not in the lineup, has stolen 7 out of 9, but otherwise they are not a running team. Fife set, looks over his left shoulder. There goes Simmons, pitch inside, high throw, got him anyway. Tim Fedorovich got it down there in a hurry, but it was high, and Punto was able to reach up and slap the tag down just in time. So Fedorovich got it to the neighborhood, and Punto, quick tag, got stepped on his left foot. And kind of, I'm sure, hollered, ouch. So Fedorovich gets him. 2 down in the third inning, and the Braves continue not to be a running team. And Hayward up there, 1 ball and 1 strike. Fife deals. Next one's foul back. 1-2. Atlanta at home, 21 wins and 7 losses. On the road, 16 wins, 17 losses. A very good ball club. The 1-2 pitch to Hayward is swung on. Grounded to Schumacher. Skip has it. That'll be that. No runs, a hit. Simmons a race trying to steal second. At the end of 2.5 innings, no score. It will be Luis Cruz, followed by Stephen Fife, and then Yasiel Puig. Fife has made a total of 40 pitches in his 3 innings. And for Chris Medlin, he's made 27 in his first 2. So here come the Dodgers in the 3rd, trying to return the favor. Dodgers went to Georgia in May, and the Braves swept them in 3. In fact, the Braves have swept 6 series this year. So the Dodgers now trying to turn the tables on Atlanta, and they've beaten them the first 2 of this 4-game series. Luis Cruz batting 140 with a home run, 6 runs batted in. He's really perked up for a little more than a week. He's hit around 260. The Cruz checks in, and here we go. Medlin ready. First pitch strike. 0-1 the count. Medlin has made 28 pitches. Tell you why that's important, as Cruz lifts one foul out of play, and the count stays 0-2. Medlin this year has been hit hard in the first 50 pitches. First 50, the league is batting .309 against him. After 50 pitches, the average drops to .207. So here's pitch number 30. The strike 2 pitch. Cruz takes off the plate. 1-2 the count to Luis. Braves here tomorrow afternoon, and then Monday night, Arizona. Cruz waits, and the 1-2 pitch. The right-hand hitter takes low and inside. 2 balls, 2 strikes. Medlin 10-1 last year with a breathtaking ERA of 1.5. His 2-2 pitch on the way looked like a sinker swung on and missed, and down goes Cruz. Strikeout number 2 for Medlin. Fife has 4. Now Stephen Fife coming up. The Cruz goes back empty-handed. Fife has only had 1 at bat. He is 0 for 1. He struck out. 2 for 8 in his career. And the first pitch to Steven is in for a strike. 0-1. On deck, the leadoff man, Yasiel Puig, who hit bunted and was thrown out by Medlin in the first inning. Fastball is fouled away back into the crowd. 0-2. No runs, 2 hits for Atlanta. No runs, 1 hit for the Dodgers. Braves actually at first and second. Nobody out first inning. Then second and third, 1 out, and still came up empty when both Freddie Freeman and Brian McCann, the left-hand batters, struck out against Stephen Fife. 1-2 the count. Medlin turns, ready, makes the 1-2 pitch, swung on and foul back. So Medlin hung around for a while before grounding out in the third inning. And now Stephen Fife trying to make contact and hang around. Fife was kind of a late bloomer. You know, he didn't even pitch until he was 17. The 1-2 pitch is taken off the plate. 2-2. Stephen hits as he pitches, right-handed. And the 2-2 pitch from Chris Medlin. Fastball grounded wide of first. Nice pick by Freeman. And Freddie takes it to the bag. So an almost base hit for Stephen Fife. And the batter now will be Yasiel Puig.
Right fielder, number 66.
Tried to bunt
Yasiel Puig.
and was thrown out by Medlin. Yasiel has put up some numbers early in the game. First player in Major League history. 4 home runs, 10 RBIs in 5 games. All enthusiasm, however, is tempered by reality. The game just ain't that easy. 2 out, third inning, no score. Puig checks in, batting .400. And his first pitch in for a strike. Remember, we told you he was a little first ball crazy in his first 19 at bats, swinging at it 10 times. Strike 1 pitch on the way. Fastball low and inside. 1 ball and 1 strike. Last night against Paul Maholm, he hit a home run in the 6th inning. Now the 1-1 pitch on the way. Medlin delivers, line drive, base hit into right field. Hayward plays it on a hop, and boy, that ball was hit hard. So we have seen just about everything. In fact, the one thing we certainly haven't seen yet, and that's a stolen base. He got a fastball and just drilled it into right field. Hayward handling a hot potato out there on 1 bounce. So Puig 1 for 2 with a 2-out single. And the batter, Nick Punto. So Puig has a lot to learn about pitcher's delivery. Right away, gets back to the bag, barely standing up. He's just not accustomed to running the bases, except when he's going from home to home. Freddie Freeman holding the bag against him. Medlin turns, and again Puig just steps back on the bag. Two out, bottom of the third, no score. Puig barely increasing his lead, not much. Medlin delivers, Punto fouls it away off to the left. 0-1 the count to Nick. He has 1 home run, 10 runs batted in. Doing very well, playing so much. Didn't play that much last year, hit .219. Now that he's in there, not every day, but a lot, he's hitting .285. And of course, Punto, with everything else, a switch hitter, batting .247 left-handed, .375 right-handed. Strike 1 pitch, and Punto has a look, and it's off the plate. 1-1. 2 out. Adrian Gonzalez on deck, and we have no score. Medlin ready to make his 44th pitch. Right-hander set. The pitch is fouled away by Nick. 1-2 the count.
Everybody clap your hands.
Medlin retired 5 in a row. Schumacher singled with 2 out in the second to extend his hitting streak to 14. And now with 2 out in the third, Puig singled to right field. So Yasiel takes his lead at first. Out of a stretch goes Medlin. The 1-2 pitch is swung on and lifted in the air to right center. It's BJ up in the center fielder to make the catch. So the Dodgers lead Puig. And at the end of 3, no score. Before the game, we had the old timers game. What a pair of cufflinks. Sandy Koufax and Fernando Valenzuela. Names out of the past, including comedian Billy Crystal, who took a comic swing. But it was fun to see the fellas 50 years ago. It was the Dodgers and the Yankees, and the Dodgers a 4-game sweep. And it brought back a lot of memories just seeing so many and meeting so many of them after the game. We go to the 4th. The first pitch lifted in the air from Justin Upton, but right there to handle it, Scott Van Slyke. And we have 1 away. Well, you know, time now for our Twitter poll. Here it is. Which Dodger legend would you most like to see join Twitter? Ron Cey, Steve Yeager, or Fernando Valenzuela? Tweet hashtag Twitter, and then either say Yeager or Valenzuela. Be interesting to see the results. One away. Freddie Freeman is struck out. 0 for 1. Freddie has been red hot, hitting almost 360 for over a couple of weeks. Takes high. 1-1. Stephen Fife picked up his first major league victory last time out against San Diego. Line drive whistling on through into center field. So Freddie Freeman is certainly one brave who is swinging a hot bat. 3 hits last night, 1 the first game, and now this one. So he's had 5 hits, 2.5 games. A bullet right on by the glove of Stephen Fife. So with 1 out, Brian McCann coming up. Freeman does not run. He's not involved in stolen bases. Dodgers load up the right side of the infield, and McCann takes a strike. So Cruz all alone between second and third. Punto goes to the other side of second base. 0-1. And a fly ball to left. Van Slyke is at the other end of it. 2 down. Freeman back to first. And the batter will be Chris Johnson.
Play third baseman Chris Johnson.
There are 2 Johnsons on the ball club. Chris Johnson playing third base a lot, and Reed Johnson, who usually you see a lot of work in the outfield as a pinch hitter. Chris was originally drafted by the Astros. He's from Naples, Florida, putting up some good numbers. Hitting .325, 3 home runs, 16 runs batted in, and that's ball 1. Johnson started last night. Ramiro Pena started at third in the first game. 1 ball and no strikes. And that's lifted to right field. Puig racing over, but no chance. 1-1. Interesting that Johnson is quick to go after the first pitch. In the game tonight, 3 players are very famous for going after the first pitch and putting it in play. Adrian Gonzalez, number 1. Carl Crawford, number 3. And Chris Johnson, number 4. Number 2, that's Bryce Harper. 1-1 pitch swung on and fouled away. 1-2. And what's interesting, they're the fellas who succeed on the first pitch. Adrian hitting .556. Harper .519. Crawford and Johnson .500. So some do and some don't. The first pitch. 1-2 the count to Chris Johnson. He hits a breaking ball down to short. Taking it right to the bag is Punto. No reason to throw it. So they leave Freeman. No runs, 1 hit, a man left. And at the end of 3.5 innings, no score. Your Southern California Kia retailers. Visit mysocalkia.com. By Time Warner, enjoy all the things you love better. 1-855-WANT-TWC. And by 76, we're on the driver's side. Bottom of the 4th inning, sunset time in Los Angeles. It was 70 degrees when the first pitch was made and was scoreless in the 4th inning. A beautiful summer's evening. Gonzalez, Ethier, and Van Slyke against Chris Medlin. No runs, 3 hits for Atlanta. No runs, 2 hits for the Dodgers. Adrian hitting .319. Takes it, which is rare. 1 ball and no strikes. So far this year, the Braves have shut Adrian Gonzalez down through 5 games. 2-0. Adrian is 2 for 19 against Atlanta this year. That's a 105 batting average. Highly unusual to shut him down that well. 2-0. Fouled away, upstairs, off third. 2-1 the count to Adrian Gonzalez. Gonzalez 2 years ago hit .338 for the Red Sox, 27 home runs, and 117 runs batted in. But in '09 for the Padres, he had 40 home runs. And ball 3. He had 119 RBIs to go with 36 home runs. So anytime you can keep his bat quiet, you're doing quite a job. 3-1. 3-2. Adrian 0 for 4 yesterday. But since the last week in May, he's hit a little better than .350. .312 against right-handers, .333 against left-handers. And ball 4. So the first walk given up by Medlin, and the batter will be Andre Ethier.
Center fielder number 16, Andre Ethier.
Just about, I assume, a sellout crowd tonight. Such a beautiful evening. Things have been certainly exciting the last few days with young Puig. And the folks are out here to take a look. Andre struggling, hitting .231, 4 home runs, 15 runs batted in. And strike. When you see someone with the obvious talent of an Andre Ethier, fellow hit .284, .292 2 years in a row, .305, you realize just how tough it is to play this game at this level. Fouled, 0-2. That hurt. He's not ready. Nancy Patterson racing out. No, it's Sue Falsone. Take a look and see for ourselves. Breaking ball got him off the knee. You can almost hear him here. He let out a holler. Take another look. Well, he's going to walk it off. Thought it was the knee. It's more like the foot. No balls and 2 strikes. Brian McCann saying something to make him laugh. That's a pretty good trick. You can make him laugh over that foul ball. 0-2 the count to Andre Ethier. Meanwhile, Adrian, who doesn't do any running, very short lead at first. In the dirt. Ball 1. 1-2. Chris Medlin pretty much concentrating on Ethier. You would never look at Adrian Gonzalez as a threat, although he did have 2 stolen bases last year. Ethier fouls that one back. He'd have to go to the minor leagues about 11 years ago, where Adrian Gonzalez stole 6 bases. He went years without a stolen base, and he had one in '09 had one in 11. 1-2 to Andre Ethier. Strike 3 called, and he's hot. He disagrees with C.B. Buckner. So Ethier is called out, 1 down. That would be the 3rd strikeout for Medlin.
Scott Van Slyke.
And the batter will be Scott Van Slyke. One away, 4th inning, no score. An unhappy Ethier indeed going back in the dugout. First the foul ball off the foot and then to be called out. 3rd strikeout for Medlin. And ball 1 to Van Slyke. Scotty struck out in the 2nd inning. Checking with Tim Wallach. Two and 0 the count. Van Slyke has struck out 19 times and has walked only 6. And you have Adrian Gonzalez at first. It is an unlikely combination for anything like hit and run. High fly ball, very playable. Hayward jogging in. So Gonzalez holding. 2 outs later, the batter will be Skip Schumacher. Schumacher single left
Skip
in the 2nd inning. So he's hit safely now in 14 straight. No score, 4th inning, Braves and Dodgers. $14 in a row, career high for Skip. Oh, and 1. By the way, David Freese extended his hitting streak to 18 games tonight in Cincinnati. So the 18-game streak, that's the longest active streak in the major league. No score in the 4th. Dodgers have had 3 men get to first, no one getting to second. The Braves have had 1 man get to third. In fact, the Braves in the 1st inning at first and second, nobody out. They had their number 3 hitter sacrifice in the 1st inning, and then Freeman and McCann struck out. 1-2. Medlin versus Fife. Tomorrow, definitely Mike Minor for Atlanta. And we'll just have to wait and see when the Dodgers make the announcement about Ted Lillard. 1-2. Swung on a flare. That's going to drop in left center. Adrian will hold at second base. So Schumacher will take it. Dodgers have runners at first and second.
That's your number 18,
and Tim Fedorovich coming up. So Schumacher makes contact and it pays off. It doesn't say you have to hit it hard. Little flare that drops into center. Gonzalez at second, tough man to score on a base hit. And the batter now, Fedorovich, who flied to right field in the 2nd inning. So Tim has swung a pretty good bat with his 2 home runs, 5 RBIs. Good breaking ball. He gave up on it, took it for a strike. 0-1. So the totals are identical. No runs, 3 hits, no errors for each side. Way out in front. That was a changeup. That's what happens. A young hitter like Fedorovich and a successful big league pitcher like Medlin, and the rookie has a tendency to swing at the arm speed, which is the same speed as the fastball, but up pops the bubble. 0-2. Comes back with the fastball. No balls and 2 strikes. Chris Medlin. Hard to believe he is 2-6. He's 2-0 in his career against the Dodgers with an earned run average of 1.5. And down goes Fedorovich. That was just in on the hands, inside part of the plate. No runs, 1 hit, 2 left, and at the end of 4, no score. Tomorrow, and then they have Arizona Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday nights. That'll be tough. The Dodgers have lost 5 out of 6 from Arizona, and the D-backs are in first place, leading Colorado by 2.5. Dodgers then hit the road, go to Pittsburgh, New York for the Yankees, and 4 with San Diego. And then they come back here June the 24th to open up a 3-game series with the Giants and a 4-game series with the Phillies before going back out on the road. We cruise to the 5th inning, no score, Medlin versus Fife. Bottom 3 of the Brave lineup, Ugla, B.J. Upton, and Medlin. Ugla struck out first at bat. That's a strike. 0-1 to Dan. Ugla has 10 home runs, and he'll hit a bunch of them before the year is over. It's foul out of play. Ugla with the Marlins in 2007 hit 31, and he wasn't finished. Next year 32, next year 31, next year 33, next year 36. And hits a drive into left center. Going back is Ethier at the wall. Gone. The Ugla hits his 11th. Sooner or later you knew he was going to bust out. And the Braves take a 1-0 lead here in the 5th inning. It is the second run that they have scored in 25 innings, and a pitcher's nightmare. The home run was hit on a no-ball, 2-strike count. The Fife with a curveball, and it was hit into the seats. Got that curveball right out over the plate. Ethier just ran out of real estate, and it's 1-0 Atlanta. B.J. shows bunt, ball 1. Upton struck out in the 2nd inning, 0-1. So Dan Ugla, the Owl, the Swedish name, And he hits one out in any language. Strike to Upton. One ball and one strike. Foul back 1-2. So Uggla hits his 11th. Fife surrenders his second. 2 home runs in 14 innings plus. And he just blows BJ away. 5 strikeouts for Stephen Fife. BJ Upton has struck out twice tonight.
Pitcher,
So
Chris
BJ
Medlin.
has struck out 71 times. His brother has struck out 72 times. Boy, that's something. 143 strikeouts between 2 players on the club. Here's Medlin. Ball 1. Medlin was up there a while in the 3rd inning, fouling off pitches, and finally grounded out to short. And he hits a fly ball to right. Puig to the track at the scoreboard, and it's gone. That ball really carried. It looked like a routine fly ball to deep right, and suddenly it was Puig running out of ground. So Chris Medlin hits a home run, and it is 2-0 Atlanta. Well, we'll have to look it up in the book to see if Medlin has ever hit a home
Shortstop
run.
number 19, Andrelton Simmons.
So Stephen Fife allows 2 home runs, and for Chris Medlin, it's his first major league home run. Fife is going to be batting second when the Dodgers hit in the bottom of the 5th, and Medlin, who's from Artesia, probably has friends and maybe even relatives here, and they see him hit one out. .95 at bats, and he hits one. 0-1 the count. 0-2. Andrelton Simmons has doubled and singled. Single the so-called old swinging bunt, topped the ball up along third. Cruz couldn't make the play. Fouled at the plate. 0-2. So the Dodgers have certainly been held in check. Dodgers have 3 hits. Schumacher has 2 of them. Puig has the other, all singles. Breaking ball hit to the left of short, smothered by Punto on a bounce, and it gets away from Adrian. Punto on his knees, trying to get the ball over to first. Safely aboard. It'll go as a single for Andrelton Simmons, meaning he's 3 for 3. Nice smother, Murray's throw. Adrian unable to connect. So Simmons 3 for 3, and the batter will be Jason Hayward. Reasonably accurate throw, continuing the fact that Punto was all over the place, smothering the ball, and Adrian got the glove on it, couldn't hold it. How he even got it in the neighborhood was remarkable. So now Hayward, who has walked and grounded out, and base hit into right field. Puig up with it, rounding second is Simmons, and a great throw to third, got him. Puig does it again. So Hayward, a single to right field, and Simmons tries to go from first to third, and yes Yasiel said, yes, sir, and threw him out easily. 9-5 if you're scoring. Perfect throw. Cruz plenty of time to wait for the runner. Crowd roaring again as they show it on the Diamond Vision screen. So Fife is really struggling. 2 home runs, 2 singles. He's saved by Puig for the moment. And the batter is Justin Upton, who can certainly rearrange the game in a hurry. The Honeycutt out there talking to Fife. I'm sure the play that killed him in the inning is the home run by Medlin. When the Dodgers come up in the bottom of the 5th, they have Cruz, Fife, and Puig. So Hayward, it took second on the throw to third, waiting to be picked up, and Upton, who is sacrificed and flied to left, checks in. Big bouncer to third. Up with it there is Cruz to throw him out. So Puig stopped what might have been a very big inning. Instead, the Braves get 2, leave 1, and at the end of 4.5, Atlanta 2, Dodgers nothing. We'll take a look one more time. It might have been more, except for Yasiel Puig making a great throw from right field to nail out Delton Simmons easily, trying to go from first to third. The Puig has it all, there's no doubt about that. What is amazing, we have seen all 5 areas of his outstanding talent in 5 games. Cruz, Fife, and Puig. Fastball lifted off third. Simmons goes over, the shortstop hollering, puts it away. So 1 pitch takes care of Cruz, 1 away, and Fife coming up. A reminder, you know, Tuesday at 7:10, first 50,000 fans in attendance take home a Dodger beach chair presented by Farmer John. So for tickets, visit Dodgers.com/promotion. Come on out to Dodger Stadium. Have a seat. Chris Medlin hitting a home run. He is the 3rd Braves pitcher this year to hit a home run. Tim Hudson hit 1. Mike Minor, who pitches tomorrow, hit 1. The last Braves pitcher to hit a home run here at Dodger Stadium. You have to go back 20 years. Actually, in 1992, John Smoltz hit one. 2-1 the count to Stephen Fife, grounded out in the third inning. Pass ball strike, 2-2. Foul back. So Puig, who tried to bunt his way aboard in the first inning and was thrown out, singled to right field in the third inning and just made that great throw to snuff them out in the fifth. Fife got a little bit of that going by. 90-mile-an-hour fastball. So 2-2 to count to Stephen Fife. And strike 3 call, 2 out. The Giants are playing the Diamondbacks, and the Giants are beating Arizona
Right fielder, number
8-0
66.
in the bottom of the fourth inning. Madison Bumgarner for San Francisco. Trevor Cahill started that game for Arizona. He was knocked out in the fourth inning on Buster Posey's home run. So here's Puig. Makes what appears to be a little cross in the dirt. One day we're going to have to take one of our cameras and shoot down and see just what he's writing. Off speed, change, ball 1. One and one. Well, that's what he does. It's either a cross or an X. One ball, one strike. 1-2. So young Puig up against a masterful pitcher, Chris Medlin. Time. Still 1-2. He's fouled off a couple, which brings up the point, and I realize he's only been here for a few games, but it is rare that he has swung and missed. And he pulls that thing down the left field line, foul. If we can see that pitch, see the location of it, using his own bat, two-tone. Here's the pitch. See where it is. Yeah, way outside. That's what I thought. He was able to hit an outside pitch and pull it foul down the left field line. That's pretty tough to do. On the hands, got a little bit of it. Yasiel batting .429. One ball, two strikes. Got him high and away, probably out of the strike zone. That would be the 4th time that he has struck out this year. And at the end of 5, it's 2-0 Atlanta. In 1968, Don Drysdale had worked 4 more scoreless innings, so he had pitched 58 2/3 scoreless innings. But in the 5th inning, Tony Taylor got a base hit. Then the catcher, Clayton Dalrymple, got a base hit, sending Taylor to third. The pinch hitter, Howie Bedell, came up, hit a fly ball. Taylor tagged up and scored, and that was it. 58 2/3 consecutive scoreless innings. Let's go back to this one. Stephen Fife working on Freddie Freeman, who struck out and singled. Freddie hitting .316. 1 ball and 1 strike. Braves lead 2-0. 1-2 the count to Freddie. Stephen Fife has allowed 2 runs, 7 hits. He allowed 4 hits in the 5th inning. The second out was that great throw by Puig, but he gave up 2 home runs in the inning. A line drive to center, and Ethier makes the catch. Freeman a tough out, 1 away. They always say the toughest play for an outfielder is the ball hit right at him. So Andre stayed 1 down. Brian McCann the batter. Boy, they certainly have Yasiel Puig playing deep out there in right field. I mean, he is maybe a couple of feet from the track. And a flare caught. Luis Cruz all alone on the left side to take care of McCann. 2 out in the 6th inning. And Chris Johnson, who grounded out and hit into a force play in the 4th inning coming up. When the Dodgers come up in the bottom of the inning, Punto, Gonzalez, and Ethier, they are 0 for 5 with a walk. Chris 0 for 2, batting .323. Ball 1. Johnson really tearing up left-handers, hitting just under .370 against left-hand pitching. And a drive to the gap in left center. Van Slyke is going to have to play it off the wall. Johnson on his way for 2. He is in there with the double. So Chris Johnson comes up with his 14th double. And with 2 out, the batter is Dan Uggla. No chance for Van Slyke to catch up to it. 2 runs, 8 hits now for Atlanta. Uggla struck out and then homered in the 5th inning. Homered on a no-ball, 2-strike curveball that hung right out in the middle of the plate. Ball 1 to Dan. For Uggla to hit a home run, though, that's old news. And that was his 11th. One ball and no strikes. Dan's from Louisville, Kentucky and Columbia, Tennessee. 2-0. Fife now ready to make his 75th pitch. Uggla has 23 runs batted in. 15 have come on home runs, 8 on his other hits. So he's had 15 RBIs on 10 home runs, 16 RBIs on 11. 2-1. Fastball in there. 5 hits, 92 on the gun. 2 balls, 2 strikes, 2 out, a runner at second, and the Braves leading 2-0. Fistful of deuces. Fouled away. To repeat, the Dodgers have Punto, Gonzalez, and Ethier, and if anybody gets on, Van Slyke. 2 runs, 8 hits, no errors for Atlanta. No runs, 3 hits, no errors for the Dodgers. Two and two. Foul tipped and held. Uggla strikes out a second time, but he also hit the home run. No runs, 1 hit, a man left at second, and at the end of 5 1/2, 2-0 Atlanta. Little update on what's going on in the major leagues in the West. Giants pounding Arizona 8-0 in the 5th inning. Looks like a team effort. 6 Giants with at least 1 RBI. San Diego defeating Colorado 4-2. Eric Stokes, the former Dodger, picked up the victory, allowing just one earned run. And in the marathon, Miami beat the Mets 2-1 in 20 innings. And that's the game we mentioned earlier. The Mets were 0 for 19 with runners in scoring position. A pleasant night, I'm sure, for Terry Collins. Bottom of the 6th inning, it will be Nick Punto, Adrian Gonzalez, and then Andre Ethier against Chris Medlin. Dodgers have been shut out 4 times this year, twice at home, twice on the road. Fastball strike, 0-1. Medlin doesn't throw really hard, 88 to 90 most of the time. Location, movement, and then velocity. There he is, quickly out in front, 0-2. I can't think of a greater praise than has been uttered about Medlin, reminding people of Greg Maddux. Just missed. 1-2 the count. Medlin was born in Artesia. Went to Santa Ana Junior College. Fouled away. Medlin had Tommy John surgery in 2010 and has certainly bounced back nicely. Last year 10-1. Hit a real bad spot in the road where he lost 5 in a row this year. So he comes in here 2-6. Off speed, missed. 2-2. That's as off speed as he's been. It was in the mid-70s. In the middle of May, he went 7 innings against the Dodgers, did not allow a run. Braves won, but he was not involved. Braves won 3-1. Fastball hit to the gap in left center. That has a chance to go through. It does. Upton cuts it off. And meanwhile, automatically Punto goes in head first, expecting a throw. So Punto a leadoff double to left center.
First baseman, Adrian Gonzalez.
Now you have Gonzalez, Ethier, and Van Slyke. Fastball out over the plate, and Nick bangs it in the gap. B.J. Upton finally cut it off, but never had a chance to make a play. Punto's expecting a throw. No throw. So Punto trying to spark the club. Comes up with his 6th double. And now Gonzalez. Fly to right and walk. Off speed, slow breaking ball for a strike. 0-1. He has both a curveball and a slider, along with a fastball and changeup. Adrian 0 for 3 in the past, so 0 for 4 against Medlin. One and one. The baseball world knows that Adrian has been so tremendous with runners in scoring position. 1-1. 1-2. With runners in scoring position this year, Adrian Gonzalez hitting .447. Of course, that's been a signature sign of his career. He's hit about .335 scoring position throughout his career. And he slaps it foul. Still 1-2. So this is one of those terrific confrontations. A veteran, a most successful hitter, and a veteran and a most successful pitcher. One ball, two strikes. Simmons trying to take a step away from Punto out there at second base. Slow curve, hit down to short, didn't hit it hard. Simmons will take the out and Punto will take third. So Adrian, I think, a bit jammed on that. Just a slow roller to short. So now Andre Ethier with a runner 90 feet away. Ethier, remember, had one burst earlier this year. He had an 8-game hitting streak early in April, and he hit .310. Otherwise, he'd been very quiet, hitting .230. Against Medlin, he was 4 for 9 coming into the game. And there he goes, off-speed breaking ball for a strike. That was 77. He has struck out 6. One out. Punto at third. The infield is back. They'll give up the run for an out. And for Ethier, a chance to pick up an RBI as 15. And hits it foul outside of third down the line. So Andre, who grounded out in the second inning, fouled the ball off his foot and then was called out on strikes. Now misses by a couple of feet of an extra base hit. And McCann going out to talk to Medlin. Chris Johnson at third, taken out of the play for the moment. 0-2. Ethier with the infield back, trying desperately to make contact. He's got 15 runs batted in. Just down and away. 1-2. And a little high. So boy, he teases the hitter. He just misses down and away, and then he just misses upstairs, and they count 2 balls, 2 strikes. Off the plate, ball 3. And again, he hasn't thrown Ethier a fastball. They've all been 77, 82. 3-2 the count. 1 out, Van Slyke on deck. And the Dodgers hanging on the pitch. Fouled away. Braves lead 2-0. Dodgers desperately trying to get a runner home from third. Pitch number 100 coming up for Chris Medlin. And Punto walking down the line. And a high fly ball into shallow left center. Let's see. BJ for the catch, and Punto will not come on a one-hopper to the plate. Nice throw by B.J. Upton, and Ethier unable to get the man home.
For the Dodgers, left fielder, number 33, Scott
Upton right on the money. Punto had no chance. So 2 out, Punto at third, Scott Van Slyke the batter. Medlin has certainly established the pattern. He's gotten a first pitch strike to 17 of 22 batters. 15 of those 17 strikes were taken for strike 1. So let's see about Van Slyke. Pulls on the ground to third. Chris Johnson. And the Dodgers blow a run, leaving Punto at third. No runs, 1 hit, a man left, and at the end of 6, 2-0 Atlanta. An award-winning Farmer's Burger, topped with farm-fresh veggies, cheese, bacon, and avocado. By AT&T, rethink possible. And by CarMax. Start the search for your next car at CarMax. 7th inning, 2-0 in favor of Atlanta. B.J. Upton, then Chris Medlin, and Andrelton Simmons in that order. B.J. takes ball 1. He has struck out twice tonight. Made that one hopper throw to the plate on the fly ball from Ethier. 1 ball, no strikes. Ball 2. 5 has done well. He's walked 1. Gave up a home run to Dan Ugla on a no ball 2 strike count. Big chopper up the middle, base hit to center. So Upton opens it up with the single. Medlin coming up. And looking at Stephen Fife's numbers here with a leadoff single, he's gone 6+. He's allowed 9 hits, 2 runs, 2 home runs. And what has to really buggle him, the home run by Ugla on a no ball 2 strike count, and a home run by the pitcher, Chris Medlin. So they're going to back him up with J.P. Howell in the Dodger bullpen. He made 82 pitches. His spot is also due up 4th when the Dodgers bat in the bottom of the 7th. The bunt by Medlin. Gonzalez has to make the play to Schumacher, and Upton advances to second. So 1 out. Medlin does his job.
Shortstop, number 19.
You watch him play
Simmons.
and you say he does his job in every area. Roger McDowell giving him 5s. So here is Simmons. He doubled in the 1st inning. Rolled one slowly to third. Cruz could not make the play. That was a base hit. And then he singled up the middle despite that great effort by Punto. So Simmons 3 for 3 after having gone 1 for 9 coming into tonight's game. Time. Simmons last night led off the ball game against Ryu with a bunt single. One out, 7th inning, 2-0 Atlanta. That's a strike. Fife is due to bat fourth in the bottom half of the seventh. Fastball missed inside. He hit 90 with the gun. 1 ball, 1 strike. B.J. Upton has stolen 3, but he's also been caught 3. 1-1. Fastball 1-2. When the Dodgers were playing San Diego, there was always a threat with the Padres that they try to steal third. They play the game differently than Atlanta. 1-2 the count. Got him. Fastball inside corner. Down goes Simmons. Big strikeout for Stephen Fife. Got it right in there. He had 4 strikeouts in the first 2 innings. That's his 7th strikeout. And it brings up Jason Hayward, but just a minute. Here comes Don Mattingly. Hayward's a left-hand batter. J.P. Howell's been throwing in the bullpen. So it looks like we will have a double switch. They'll bring Howell in. Van Slyke made the last out, so we'll see whether he's going to be coming out of the game. Mark Ellis is going to take over at second base. Schumacher was leading off. So Ellis comes in, Schumacher comes out, J.P. Howell is coming in, Scott Van Slyke goes out, so we'll be back to settle it all right after this. And 6 2/3, allowing 2 runs. The Dodgers moved the furniture around since Van Slyke made the last out. Skip Schumacher goes into left field. J.P. Howell and Mark Ellis come in at the same time. Howell will go in Van Slyke's spot, and Ellis will bat 9th, which means he hits 4th in the 7th inning. And ball 1. Stephen Fife made 86 pitches, going 6 2/3. So James Phillip, better known to the world as JP. Haywood has walked, grounded out, and singled. Off the plate. The paid attendance tonight, a sellout, 52,716. 52,716. I would say half of that crowd was here to see the Old Timers game. 2-0. Pulled on the ground. Adrian takes it to the bag. End of threat. No runs, one hit, a man left. Dodgers coming up in the bottom of the seventh. Schumacher, Fedorovich, and Cruz. Braves lead 2-0. Time now for our Twitter poll question and the results of the question. The question was, which Dodger would you most like to see on Twitter? Say Yeager, Valenzuela. Overwhelmingly, people would love to Twitter with Fernando, 73%. Fernando pitched in the Old Timers game. Boys had a lot of fun. In fact, Mike Brito, the scout who for years stood behind home plate with his speed gun, checking the velocity of all the pitches, he said he took his speed gun out. He was teasing Valenzuela. And Fernando's fastball was 63 for laughs. Schumacher, single to left, single to center. He's hit safely in 14 straight. Dodgers left a runner at third with one out in the sixth inning. Medlin, they had a 1.5 earned run average against the Dodgers in his career. Tonight he's limited them to 4 hits. 2 runners have gotten to second, and one of the 2 runners got to third. Little roller to short. Simmons, 1 away. Final game tomorrow of the 4-game series. Mike Minor definitely for Atlanta. All we know is Ted Lilly listed as questionable. It's been written by some of the writers that Matt McGill would be called up, but it's not official. So we'll just have to wait and see. And then Arizona will be in Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday night. Monday and Tuesday on Prime, Wednesday on KCAL 9. 0-1, Fedorovich flied to right and struck out. Having trouble making contact. Hitting back of him, Luis Cruz. 0-1. To the screen. 1 ball, 1 strike. Medlin has struck out 6. That kicks away for ball 2. Medlin's numbers: 24 walks, 60 strikeouts. Tonight he has walked 1. Pitch count up to 107. And he misses again. 3-1. Luis Avilan, the left-hander. Anthony Bavaro, the right-hander. Bavaro, you may remember, he's the young fellow who made 2 wild pitches to lose the game last night. And Fedorovich, a 1-out single up the middle. So Tim 1 for 3.
Number 47,
And the batter will be Luis Cruz. Dodgers with 5 hits but nothing to show for it. Cruz has struck out and fouled out. 0 for 2. Medlin has made 109 pitches. His high was against the Dodgers, 112 in Georgia. Gave up just 1 run in that game. It was not earned. Boy, he's a good pitcher. 0-1. Fastball pull, foul. The Cruz ripped that thing, but foul by plenty. 0-2 to Luis. No chance for Chris Johnson. Good chance for the ball boy without having to leave his seat. 0-2. And foul back. 2 runs, 9 hits, no errors for Atlanta. Their runs came on a home run by Dan Uggla on the dreaded no ball 2 strike count, and a home run by the pitcher, Chris Medlin. Dodgers have gotten 1 man to third, Punto in the 6th, and they were unable to get him home. 0-2. In the dirt. Freddie Gonzalez, Roger McDowell watching Medlin very carefully now. His pitch count moving up to 113. There they are. This will be his most pitches in 1 game this year. They're always cautious with him. Remember, he had Tommy John surgery back in 2010. 1-2. Foul back. That was his fastball at 89. Those are 3 good words to teach any youngster who wants to be a pitcher. The important 3, and in order: location, movement, velocity. And a little foul behind the plate, but it'll carry into the crowd. One and 2 to Luis Cruz. 1 out, bottom of the 7th, 2-0 Atlanta. And that's lifted. Shallow center. Simmons out. Upton in. BJ. So 2 out, and Mark Ellis will be coming up. And timeout. Here comes the bench. So Freddie on his way to the mound. And we'll see if he's going to lift Medlin now. After 116 pitches, I think so. Boy, he pitched great. Oh, wow. Medlin had 10 0-2 counts. And in those at-bats, the Dodgers were 1 for 10. That's when Quinto battled back from a 2-2 count and doubled. We'll be right back. Down for, well, getting into the 7th inning with 2 out. He made 116 pitches, 20 more than Stephen Fife, but 2 of Stephen's pitches crushed him. The home run first by Ugla on an 0-2 count, and the other home run by Chris Medlin himself. Big difference. So now Anthony Vivaro will pick up for Chris Medlin. You may remember it was Vivaro who made 2 wild pitches in the 10th inning last night to give the Dodgers the victory. And he starts ball 1 to Mark Ellis. Vivaro working last night, bounced it in the dirt, it kicked away. Schumacher scored, and the Dodgers won it 2-1. Vivaro, by the way, has 7 wild pitches and a strike. So with 7 wild pitches, Freddie Gonzalez must have great faith in him. He's from Staten Island, New York. He married the grand niece of Bobby Thompson of the then New York Giants, whose home run beat the Brooklyn Dodgers in 1951, one of the more dramatic home runs in the history of the game. Anthony is 28. He'll be 29 the end of October. Went to St. John's University. 1-1. Fastball, big chopper to second. Ugla is there. And that'll do it for the Dodgers. No runs, 1 hit, a man left. And at the end, it's 7-0 Georgia. Yasiel Puig made a little noise with a single in the third inning with the bat. He made even a bigger noise with the arm in the fifth inning. That was the base hit by Hayward and the great throw to nail Simmons trying to go from first to third. I mean, you talk about right on the money. He gives you change. The Cruz makes the tag. The crowd loved the throw. Puig, by the way, will be leading off for the Dodgers in the eighth inning. So the Braves now have Justin Upton, Freddie Freeman, and Brian McCann. Upton sacrificed, flied to left, grounded to third. 0 for 2, hitting .250, 14 home runs, 29 runs batted in. Fastball strike. 0-1. Little low. 1 ball, 1 strike. One and 1. 1-2. J.P. Howell was with the Rays 06, 7, 8, 9, 11, 12. So he was a teammate of B.J. Upton, who was with the Rays same time. 1-2 the count to Justin Upton. In the dirt. Dodgers thoroughly frustrated, I'm sure, not just the 2 home runs by the Braves and the failure to score Punto from third with 1 out. But we gave you the note earlier. The Dodgers have won 2 in a row. They have tried 8 times to win 3 in a row, and they've come up short 7 of 8. Only early April did they win 3 straight. So near and yet so far. 3-2. JP from Modesto, lives in Sacramento. Went to school at Texas. He got a scholarship to USC, but after 1 year he transferred to Texas. He said he was too immature to be at SC. JP's 28. That's fouled off. Count stays 3-2. I heard this, but I don't believe it. It said that J.P. Howell wears 3 shirts, 3 undershorts, and 3 pair of socks when he pitches because it reminds him of a 3 strikes and 3 outs. Only a left-hander would get a story like that attached to it. 3-2. Up. Did he? No, he didn't. Ball 4. So Justin Upton gets the walk, and he is a good base stealer. He's stolen 5 out of 6. And the batter will be Freddie Freeman. Freeman is 1 for 3. Struck out, singled, hit a line drive right at Andre Ethier in the 6th inning. 5 for 11 in the series. He's the one Brave who's been pretty consistent with the bat since they went out on the road. Foul ball, 0-1. Freddie Freeman from Orange. He's the apple of the eye of a lot of people in Atlanta, I'll tell you. Good young player who figures to be around a long time and make a significant contribution to the Braves. 0-1. Justin has stolen 5 out of 6. JP keeping an eye on him. Adrian on the bag, and Mark Ellis over to the right. Freeman last night went 3 for 4 and hit 3 balls to left and left center. 0-1. Pulled on the ground to Adrian. No play at second. So Freeman grounds out. Justin Upton in scoring position with 1 out. And the batter will be Brian McCann. McCann struck out, flied to left, and popped up. McCann hitting .256. I'm sure he did a wonderful job helping Medlin. Now trying to help his club with the bat. Brian's father was head coach at Marshall University in West Virginia. Coming out of high school, he had a scholarship to Alabama, but the Braves signed him. Mark Ellis 10 feet out on the grass at second base. Fouled away. 0-1. Two brothers signing to be professional players. Brian and Brad. Brian has not only made it, he's made it big time. He makes big money. He was a well-deserved All-Star 6 times. His brother, drafted by the Marlins out of Clemson, struggled for 4 years, finally released. 0-2. Checking J.P. Howell against McCann. McCann just 0 for 1 against him. Brian, first All-Star game back in 2006. Pick off, but no throw. Justin Upton at second, 1 out, 8th inning, 2-0 in favor of Atlanta. Down he goes on the breaking ball. So we have 2 out. Justin Upton still at second base, and Chris Johnson coming up. Johnson grounded to short, hit into a force play, and then doubled. And we will wait now to see what develops as Mattingly makes his way to the mound. He's had Matt Guerrier in the bullpen, and he'll call in the right-handers to go after Chris Johnson, and we'll be right back. 2-strike home run. And if that wasn't a killer for Stephen Fife, he then gave up a home run to the opposite pitcher, Chris Medlin. Medlin, quite something besides being just the opposite pitcher. 6 2/3 scoreless innings. He had to work hard, 116 pitches. Puig, 1 for 3, a base hit in the 3rd inning, and the great outfield assist, getting Simmons in the 5th inning, trying to go from 1st to 3rd on a base hit. Okay, Matt Guerrier now ready to pick up the burden against Chris Johnson, who is 1 for 3. And a strike. Johnson hitting a solid .327, doubled in the 6th inning. Chris has hit safely 13 of the last 18, and over that stretch hitting around .390. Check swing. They look. Yes, swing, says Rayburn. 0-2 the count. Matt with the count his way. Johnson waiting. Chased it. Down he goes. Braves leave Upton at second base. And we head to the bottom of the 8th. 2-0 Atlanta. For 350 supported mobile and connected devices in HD quality with MLB.TV Premium. Visit MLB.TV today. Baseball everywhere. The Dodgers down 2-0. Ramiro Pena takes over at third base. He will bat ninth. And since Chris Johnson made the last out, Luis Avilan, a left-hander from Caracas, Venezuela, will take over, and he'll go in Johnson's spot. And the Dodgers will have Puig, Punto, and Gonzalez. The Dodgers have certainly done a great job on the Braves. The Braves, in runners with scoring position tonight, are 0 for 8 with 6 strikeouts, and they are only 1 for 18 in the whole series. However, they're leading 2-0. Puig bunted and was thrown out. Single, struck out. Avilan is a 23-year-old left-hander. He'll be 24 the middle of July. Facing Puig. And ball one. So it's interesting in the game tonight. He has not gone after the first pitch in 4 at-bats. 1 ball and no strikes. Breaking ball. Good one. Good curve for a strike. Avilan is 6'2", 200. He'll be 24 the 19th of July. And he's been very effective coming out of the bullpen. 1-1. Ball 2. Looked like something bothering the way he shook his head. 2-1. Fastball. 2-2. Something in his right eye. Two balls, 2 strikes. And ball 3. Pretty good fastball at 94. So he goes all the way with Puig. Puig has walked once. And a high chopper over the mound. Tough play. The throw. He's in there head first. So Puig comes up with his second hit. He's 2 for 4. A single to right, and then the slow roller up the middle. And the try by Ugla couldn't get him. That slide was late, so that actually he came much too close to the bag. He's going to hit the ground. Look at that, and bounce right into it. I mean, it's not a good idea to slide anyway head first, but that is a roll of the dice slide. He could have wrecked himself there. Wow. Well, yeah, you admire his hustle, but it's a long year. So here's Punto. Ball 1. Punto, of course, will dive at first base always on a bunt, but it's just not a good play. Wrapping that left hand. 1 ball and no strikes. That's in there. 1-1. 52,716, a sellout, the 7th sellout of the year. And the Dodgers have been shut out through 7, but they are vocal. 1-1. Fastball smothered by Freeman, down to second for 1, and a wild throw into the stands by Simmons. So down to second base goes Punto, but the Dodgers give up an out. I wonder where Puig was as they tried to turn the DP. We'll take a look at the tape. You have a big boy coming down on top of you. He tried to sidearm it. That's why he threw it away. He couldn't throw it over Puig, though he kind of submarined the throw to first right there. It was also a somewhat of a poor throw by Freddie Freeman that made Simmons lean back to his right. Fielder's choice on the ground ball, and then of course to account for Punto's error, Punto's presence, you have to give an error to Simmons. So here's Gonzalez. Adrian had a chance, certainly in the 6th inning. He came up after Punto had doubled and grounded out. Grounded out up the middle to Simmons. That allowed Punto to get the 3rd, but Ethier and Van Slyke left him there. Fastball, 1-1. Adrian Gonzalez has played in 58 games, 58 of the 60. "31 years old. 1 ball and 1 strike to count. Punto at second, 1 away. 2-0 Braves, bottom of the 8th. Off speed, pulled down to Freeman. He'll feed it to Avilan. So a change takes care of Gonzalez. Dodgers for the 2nd time tonight have a runner at 3rd, and Hanley Ramirez is going to come up and bat. The Dodgers are being extremely cautious with Ramirez and a tender hamstring. Although Don Mattingly said before the game, Hanley wants to play, but I'm not going to let him play tonight. He might start tomorrow. Meanwhile, Freddie Gonzalez now with the right-hand batter coming up will go to the bullpen, and you would expect a right-hander to be brought in. So Avilan does his job, even though he gave a base hit to Puig, and we'll be right back. Jordan used to be with the Angels, remember, and I mean he is a hard thrower. So Walden will be pitching to Hanley Ramirez, and Jerry Hairston is out on deck. So Ramirez is going to come up and bat for Andre Ethier, and Hairston would then bat for the pitcher, Gurriel. Jordan Walden was with the Angels and came over to the Braves. He throws very hard. He's 6'5", 240. He hit 99 on a speed gun in a Connie Mack game. He had a baseball scholarship to the University of Texas, but the Angels selected him. Now he is brought in, going head-to-head with Hanley Ramirez. Punto down the line from third. They left him at third in the 6th inning. First pitch, 98. That's a hello ball. Looking at Walden's numbers, He has walked 4 and struck out 20. Fastball hit right through his legs into center field. So Ramirez comes off the bench and drives in a run. And the Braves lead is 2-1. Boy, Hanley is some hitter. So Ramirez makes his presence felt as a pinch hitter. Gets a fastball maybe outside the plate and singled up the middle. Clayton Kershaw is now going to run for Hanley Ramirez. Coming up is Jerry Hairston to bat for Guerrier.
Attention, please. Pinch hitting for the Dodgers. Number 6, Jerry Hairston Jr.
So Walden surrenders the base hit. The run is charged to Avalon. That single by Puig. Hairston hitting .261. Fastball. You figure that's what you're going to get from Walden. 1 ball and no strikes. Jerry Hairston hitting .261. Coming off the bench, he is 0 for 6. Kershaw, short lead at first, representing the tying run. 1-1, breaking ball. Walden brings a lot of tools to the mound. That fastball, he's actually hit 101 on the gun. He has a slider, changeup. 1 ball, 1 strike. Fastball lifted. Backing out is Ugla. That'll do it. So Hairston pops it up. However, the base hit by Ramirez gets the Dodgers close. It's 2-1 Atlanta. Hairston, who batted for Guerrier, stays in the game to play left field. Skip Schumacher, since Hanley Ramirez batted for Ethier, Schumacher goes from second base to play center field. Mark Ellis, remember, came in earlier. And Peter Moylan, formerly with the Braves, will be the 4th Dodger pitcher. Moylan from Australia.
Peter Moylan.
And he'll be facing Ugla, B.J. Upton. And then we'll see. We assumed that Freddie Gonzalez, when he brought in Avalon and Pena at the same time, we put Avalon in the third baseman Chris Johnson spot, and we put Pena hitting 9th. That's the normal way that they do it. But we will not go with that until we see it for sure officially. But we do know it's Ugley and Upton. Uggla has struck out, homered on that 0-2 count, and struck out again. Little slider away, ball one. So it's been Fife, Howell, Guerrier, and now Moylan. One and one. Craig Kimball down in the Braves bullpen. He'll be pitching the ninth. The Dodgers are due to send up Schumacher, Fedorovich, and Cruz, and if anybody gets on, Mark Ellis. Big chopper wide at third. Cruz on it to get him. So one away here in the top of the ninth. Dodgers, remember, won last night's game 2-1. It was 1-0 in game one, and then Puig hit the grand slam. So they have played each other very tough. And one to go tomorrow. 110. Mike Minor definitely for Atlanta. That's a strike. One ball and one strike. Jordan Schaefer comes out on deck to hit for Walden. That's a strike. Two runs, 9 hits for the Braves. 1 run, 7 hits for the Dodgers. In the dirt, 2-2. Braves did their scoring in the 5th inning. Uggla homered, and with 1 out, the pitcher, Chris Medlin, homered. And the Dodgers finally got a run in the 8th, and they're a buck short. Two and two the count. 3-2. Out in right field, you can see Puig shaking his right hand, making a fist. It might have been the result of that very bad head-first slide. I'll tell you, he could have wrecked himself. There's ball 4 to Upton. And now here comes Jordan Schaefer batting for Jordan Walden. A reminder, Dodgers Live will be coming up after the game.
Pinch hitting number 17, Jordan Schaefer.
So Schaefer hitting for Walden. Jordan Schaefer is the one Brave who runs a lot along not many others. He's stolen 7 out of 9. So he runs well, and he's hitting .314. Schaefer lives in Winter Haven, Florida. He went to high school, grew up there. Off speed for a strike. 0-1. No other player in Major League Baseball history did what Jordan did in his first ever at bat in 2009. He alone can say his first big league home run came in his first ever plate appearance, opening day, and against the defending world champion Phillies. Not a bad way to break in. '09, he was with the Braves for 50 games and wound up with 2 home runs, 8 runs batted in. Spent a lot of time in the minor league. Gwinnett, Mississippi, Rome, Oklahoma City. But here he is. 1-1. He was a third-round pick by the Braves back in 05. He'll be 27, 6'1", 200. When he was 5, we were talking about him last night. He was hitting wiffle balls over the roof of a 2-story house. There goes the runner. Foul ball. 1-2 to count to Schaefer. One out, 9th inning, 2-1 Atlanta. Dodgers trying to win their 3rd in a row. Braves trying to win and get to the 500 mark on the road. And Schaefer goes down against Moylan. So we have 2 out here in the 9th. And the batter will be the shortstop, Andrelton Simmons. Simmons is 3 for 4.
Andrelton Simmons.
With Jason Hayward hitting back of him. 2 out, 9th inning, 2-1 Atlanta. Braves trying to make it 4 out of 6 against the Dodgers, and the Dodgers trying to split 6 against Atlanta. B.J. Upton, as we mentioned, on a ball club that doesn't do much running. He has 3 stolen bases, but he's also been caught 3 times. That's a strike. So it's been Fife, Howell, Guerrier, and Moylan, Medlin, Vivaro, Avilan, and Walden, and Kimbrel in the pen. Oh, and 1. And a high fly ball to left field, but it's playable. Hairston is there. So Simmons flies out. They leave Upton, and we're heading for the bottom of the 9th. 2-1 Atlanta. A very tough hill to climb by the name of Craig Kimbrel. Craig Kimbrel was the Rookie of the Year in 2011. He had 46 saves. He has saved 17 this year, earned run average of 1.9. When he was Rookie of the Year, he got all 32 first place votes. But life isn't always that easy. It was back in 2006 He was helping his father install wire in a house that was under construction. 800 pounds of sheetrock fell on his left foot, snapping it nearly in half. For the next 6 months, Kimbrel was forced to throw from his knees, and he became so proficient at it, he could cover the length of a football field. And of course, as you can expect, it really strengthened his lower back muscles. Facing Skip Schumacher, ball one. Craig Kimbrel last year, it was unbelievable. He averaged 16.7 strikeouts per 9 innings. The opposition hit 126 against him. And despite the fact he went 23 games in August without an opportunity, he saved 42. And now Schumacher comes up with a base hit, his third hit of the night. So the Dodgers get the tying run aboard. That was a 97-mile-an-hour fastball, and Skip was still able to pull it. So the batter is Fedorovich, who has flied out, struck out, and singled. Chances are you would expect Fedorovich to bunt. Louis Cruz on deck, and then Mark Ellis. In looking at Fedorovich this year, he's had trouble making contact. He has struck out 15 times. There's a beach ball loose in right field, so we have time to tell you. Fedorovich does not have a sacrifice. And they've still not cleared off that beach ball, so timeout. 2-1 Braves, bottom of the ninth. Skip Schumacher at first. Schumacher has one stolen base as Messrs. Puig, Uribe, Gonzalez, Henry Ramirez, and the strike. Tim looked like he was trying to bunt, took the strike. Kimbrel throws hard following Walden. His pitch to Schumacher was 98, and that pitch to Fedorovich, 97. He's 5'11", 205 pounds. And the bunt foul. So now Fedorovich in a lot of trouble against a guy who throws smoke. Kimbrel has walked 6 and struck out 32. So better than 5-1. Was that bunted or just dropped by the catcher? Just dropped by the catcher? No. 1 ball and 2 strikes, and Fedorovich will talk to Wallace. Couldn't tell from up here. Two runs, 9 hits for the Braves. 1 run, 8 hits for the Dodgers. Bottom of the ninth. Looked like a slider off the plate. 2-2. And that'll do it for Fedorovich, unable to bunt. Big out, 1 down. Cruz is not going to come up. He was out on deck. And they're going to go to Ramon Hernandez as Fedorovich tied up on a high fastball. It was 98 miles an hour.
Cruz, number 55, Ramon Hernandez.
So Hernandez batting for Cruz. Hernandez last night hit into 2 double plays and then singled twice. Schumacher ran for him in the 10th inning and scored the winning run. So Craig Kimbrel, remarkable pitcher. following an equally remarkable starter, Chris Medlin. And we have one out. In the game tonight, among other things, Hanley Ramirez pinch hit for Andre Ethier and singled in the only run. We wanted to check to make sure that's the first time this year anyone has batted for Ethier. Figures that Hanley will be in the starting lineup tomorrow. We'll see. And that gets away, but not far enough. Schumacher had to hold. Ramon Hernandez hitting .214. He is 0 for 2 as a pinch hitter. On deck, Mark Ellis. That was a changeup at 87. He go from a fastball at 98, and then he winds up with the same delivery. And you think here comes another fastball, and it dies of exhaustion. 0-2. Great pitch. An aggressive way to reach sign, isn't it? In the dirt, slider gets behind McCann, and down to second goes Schumacher on what we're sure will be a wild pitch. Well, the Dodgers got 2 wild pitches last night and won the game because of it. That's Kimbrel's first wild pitch. 1-2 to Hernandez. And a ground ball slowly to short, but Hernandez doesn't run that well. So 2 down, and Mark Ellis coming up. Tying run in scoring position.
The Dodgers second baseman, number 14, Mark Ellis.
Dodger fans, get up out of your seats.
For Kimbrel and Mark Ellis, Ellis is 0 for 3 with 2 strikeouts against Kimbrel. Boy, he looks like he's ready to jump at you, doesn't he? And ball 1. Sellout crowd tonight, 52,716. They would like to see Ellis get aboard, and guess what? They would love to see Puig. 1 ball and no strikes. Craig Kimbrel from Huntsville, Alabama. Went to Wallace State Community College. His father is Native American, Delaware and Cherokee Indian. Fouled away. 2-1 to Mark. Ellis in and out of the lineup because of a groin injury. The pitches to Ellis, all 3 have been 97 miles an hour. Two and 1. And ball 3. And you can sense it. The crowd is saying 1 more pitch and we get free. Balls and 1 strike. Fouled away. So we've gone about as far as we can go. 3-2, 2 out. Tying run at second base. Final game of a very tough series tomorrow at 1:10. Three and 2. And it's going to be hit down the right field line. Foul ball. And I don't believe he caught it. Great effort by Jason Hayward. Wow. He disappeared from our view briefly. Tremendous effort by Hayward, though Ellis will have to come back on a 3-2 foul ball. That close. All right, 3-2, 2 out. Hayward's okay. Thank goodness. Foul tip. I'm not sure whether that would have been ball 4 or not, but Ellis strikes out. It was a 97-mile-an-hour fastball. That's all he saw. So Uggla homered, Medlin homered, an old-fashioned pitching duel, and the Braves win it 2-1 after the Dodgers won last night 2-1. Kimbrel picking up his 18th save, and he had 2 strikeouts in the 9th inning after surrendering the leadoff hit to Schumacher. Stay tuned for Dodgers Live. It's coming up next. Good night, everybody.